I want to talk seriously about the state of our federal judiciary. And I'm talking about the federal judiciary, not the state judiciary, because by and large, the state judiciary is much more pure, much more honest, much more direct with the American people, because generally speaking, state judges are elected. They're accountable to the people. They can be removed at the voting box. But the problem with the federal judiciary, based upon our Constitution, is that they are appointed for life, and they have given themselves immunity. They think absolute immunity. There's no statute that gives them immunity. They give it to themselves. And President Trump is actually doing a great service these days, except he's using the wrong vehicle, Roger Stone, to do it, in sensitizing the American people and telling the truth about the federal judiciary. They are highly political. Most of them, frankly, are political hacks when it comes to a case that has a political element to it. I've seen it over 42 years. I talk about it a lot. It's why I founded Judicial Watch back in 1994 on July 29th, because judges, in principle, are our most important public servants. They protect us from the tyranny of the other two branches of government and ourselves. They were put in place by our founding fathers as a check to that tyranny. And of course, we know that perhaps our greatest founding father, Thomas Jefferson, and third American president, said, when there's tyranny, it's a problem. In fact, when the people fear the government, then there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And that's why I put so much emphasis on judges. I mean, what good is it to have a Ferrari race car when you can't race it on a road likely to win or to succeed? And that's kind of what it is in federal court. You can be the greatest lawyer in the world and have the greatest client, the most honest client, make the best argument on any given day. And depending on what judge you're in front of, who appointed that judge to the bench, and the personal peccadillos of that judge, get completely different decisions, rulings. That should not be the case. The law is the law, and the law must govern, because without a rule of law, a society will deteriorate and it will collapse. The reason that the English-speaking countries, generally speaking, over the decades have been more prosperous than the rest of the world is because it was perceived that we had a legal system that would protect the rights of people who invested money and time in that society. We no longer have that. In the United States, we have judges who are so highly politicized, and of course we can see that during the Trump era in particular, when you have judges like John Tiger of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California enjoining the asylum immigration policies of President Trump, when his dad, a radical communist, someone who was fired from the Supreme Court as the clerk to Justice William Brennan, obviously influenced him, both Berkeley Law School graduates. I might say I like the dean of Berkeley Law School. He is a leftist, but he's a very honest guy, Erwin Chemerinsky. So no reflection on him. But the people that come out of that school are radicals, and many of them become federal judges, particularly in the Northern District of California and elsewhere. It's true throughout the United States. Even my alma mater, Duke, has gone radical left, both undergrad and in law school. So this is something that needs to be sensitized. But the president, in trashing Judge Amy Berman Jackson, a federal judge, she's highly political. I've dealt with her before. She dismissed a case I brought for the families of Benghazi victims, Ty Woods and Sean Smith, on the eve of Memorial Day, if you can believe that, Gold Star parents. There was no basis to dismiss it. It was against Hillary Clinton for using her private email server, giving up the coordinates of the ambassador and my family's two sons who died tragically at Benghazi, also defaming those parents by telling falsehoods about the cause of Benghazi when in fact she knew otherwise. And then during the presidential campaign in 2012, stating that in fact my clients had lied, in effect. This was dismissed by Amy Berman Jackson. I'm no fan of Amy Berman Jackson, but President Trump trashing her the way he has in the context of the Roger Stone case, and I know Roger Stone. Go to LarryKlayman.com. Watch the deposition I took recently of Roger Stone. 5.5 hours, you'll see the real Roger Stone, someone who defamed my brave client Jerry Corsi and me because He feared that Corsi may testify truthfully if ever called to the witness stand in his criminal prosecution. Jerry's never said a bad word about Roger Stone, but obviously he would have to testify truthfully, and nothing that he had to say actually would even harm Roger Stone. But to go to bat for Roger and to go against Amy Berman Jackson and claim that this was not a fair trial, regardless of any jury taint or prejudice, is simply a disservice, the wrong vehicle to make the point. Because what people don't understand, a lot of misinformation, whether you get it on Hannity, whether you get it elsewhere, even Rush doesn't understand, and I love Rush, and may his health be good, hopefully, in the future, and may he survive and live a long life. But Roger Stone didn't present one witness at that trial. Not one document was presented that had any evidentiary weight to defend him with. His lawyers were patting the other side on the back, the prosecutors on the back. They were so happy to be in the, quote, big leagues. They never moved for a change of venue. They were completely incompetent. It was like the Keystone Cops. If Stone has a defense, or at least a grounds for appeal, it's ineffective assistance of counsel. It wasn't Amy Berman Jackson's fault that Stone was convicted. Stone convicted himself in his own words, and it's not okay to lie under oath to Congress. It's not okay to threaten a material witness. It's not okay to obstruct justice. And just like we must hold the other side accountable to the rule of law, we must hold people who are perceived to be on our side accountable to the rule of law. And Stone isn't even on our side. When he was my campaign manager for a few weeks in 2003 and 2004, he was on the side secretly representing Al Sharpton. That's a conservative? No, that's an opportunist. That's a dirty trickster, by his own words. So this is something that needs to be understood. Yes, we need to clean up the judiciary. We need a constitutional amendment to take away their lifetime tenure. We need to be able to remove them more easily. It's hard to impeach them. In fact, one of the last judges who was impeached was Alice E. Hastings from Miami. And then after he was impeached, he ran for the Congress and won, and he's there ever since. This is what we've got on the bench. We have politicians in robes. We have a Cadillac of the legal system, but we have drunken drivers at the wheel. And that's an extremely dangerous situation. So you have my word that in this year, we're going to have a third Continental Congress in my birthplace of Philadelphia. We're going to bring experts from around the country to discuss what we need to do to tighten up our Constitution and enforce our Constitution in many ways, because frankly, it doesn't work in some respects. It's disrespected. We need to put teeth into it. But most importantly, we need to come up with a new way to pick judges, and we need to come up with a new way to remove judges so they represent the American people and not the interests of the establishment elite in Washington and the state capitals around this country. That's my message for today, and that's been my life's mission as a public interest advocate, first at Judicial Watch and now at Freedom Watch. And Freedom Watch today does what Judicial Watch used to do, hard-hitting cases, citizens' grand juries. We talk the truth. I don't say what needs to be said to get my face on Fox News. I don't need Fox News. That's going left anyway under Lachlan Murdoch, the CEO. We need to ourselves rise up and bring about liberty and justice to our country. So I want to thank you for listening. Please share this podcast. You can find it at radioamerica.com, freedomwatchusa.org, iTunes, Spotify, Facebook, Patreon. Get the word out. Because although the president's saying the right things these days, he's using the wrong vehicle, Roger Stone, to do it. Not a best way to get the point across. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. And God save America. And thank you for listening to me. I'll be back tomorrow with another special edition of our podcast.